Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 10 start and sit video for the running back position. Again, we are in Week 10 right now. We do have a game on Thursday night. We also have a game early Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So again, all of you Western folks, you got to make sure you're prepared for that and that your lineup is ready to go. Now, there obviously are 4 teams on the bye, so make sure you guys are prepared for that. These are your obvious running backs you should start here. There's a little bit longer list just because I love some of the matchups of some of these folks. You obviously got a healthy Patterson coming back. So I like that. You got obviously Barkley from bye, McCaffrey. I mean, there's a lot of good running backs this week. And again, I love the matchups here. I think this is going to be a really good one for a lot of these players. Now, the first running back I have as a good start is going to be D'Onta Foreman versus the Falcons. Look, I know a lot of people got burned by playing Foreman. I was one of them. But if you watched any of that game, you knew it was due to the game script. Unfortunately, being down 35-0 will unfortunately do that to any running back. I don't care how great they are. You're going to get game scripted out. You're not going to be able to perform as a true running back. And unfortunately, the downside, I will say to Foreman, is that they don't trust him necessarily as a receiving back, which worries me a little. Because realistically, game script obviously plays a factor in most of anything in fantasy at all. Let's be honest. There's a lot of game script and luck involved. So with that said, I do believe this game script should be more in favor for the Panthers than the previous game, obviously against the Falcons, and should give him a lot more opportunity and to be the hot hand, hopefully. Now, Hubbard should be back. We'll see. He didn't play again this past weekend, so we'll see if he actually does come back. But I think they'll start with Foreman, see how the game plays out. He should be the hot hand. Look, last outing against Atlanta, he put up 29 fantasy points. He had 118 rush yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, similar performance is probably not expected. You shouldn't expect that. But realistically, 15 to 17 points, I do believe he can do. Atlanta gives up an average of 23.7 points and 90 rushing yards. So I don't see why this can't be part of that. Another running back I'm starting this week is Kenneth Walker versus the Bucks. Walker at this point is almost a must start, obviously, every single week. But the reason why I put him in is because Bucks typically are a strong run defense. But they have a lot of performances like 24 points to Devin Singletary, 27 points to Breece Hall, 22 points to Jamal Williams. So this is a matchup where Seattle will use Walker, I believe, to keep Tom Brady and the offense off the field. Walker will get the red zone, obviously rushes. And Walker has been on fire. He's been averaging 21 points in fantasy the last 4 games played. And again, if any of you guys watched any of my videos this offseason prior to the season starting, Kenneth Walker was my favorite rookie running back coming into the season. Did I expect him to be like this right away? Not necessarily. I expected him to be more of a dynasty play than, say, a redraft play, but he has definitely shown his worth. He's definitely shown why he should have been drafted. He's done a phenomenal job. And this is his backfield. Plus, the Bucks allow 100 rushing yards a game. I like this one. Now, another running back you should be playing this week, even though he's been burning you the last couple of weeks, is Josh Jacobs going against the Indianapolis Colts. Colts allowed 93 rushing yards to running backs, also 23.5 points collectively. The last 3 outings they allowed Ramondre Stevenson, about 16 points. Gibson, 20 points. Derrick Henry, 16 points. Jacobs and the Raiders should be up big in this game, especially with the fact that obviously they're now a new head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. We don't know how this offense is going to play out. It's a whole new offensive coordinator. So the Colts should be behind, which is going to help obviously Jacobs perform really well. I get to the last 2 games, Josh Jacobs has only combined for 18 fantasy points, but I think he should be able to get to that 18 points in this game alone. Now, as far as running backs, I'm sitting this week. The first guy I have is Melvin Gordon versus the Titans. Titans have done a great job against the run, holding running backs to 15 points or under. They've only allowed once over 15 fantasy points this season. That was to Saquon Barkley, the first game of the season, with 31 points. Denver doesn't know what they're doing with their backs, and unfortunately, Gordon being the starter, most people will tend to probably play him this week, whether it be flex, maybe in deep leagues. But currently, he doesn't have any value. It's crazy to me that he's out there 73% rostered. He's not somebody you really want to trust. Yeah, he had 14 points the last outing he played, but that's not consistent. And they keep adding running backs in this offense. You're like, well, what are they going to really do? And again, remember, Titans have held running backs under 70 rushing yards, which is the best in the league. So Melvin Gordon's not something I'm going to play. I know I've seen him played way too often. I am sitting him this week. Another running back I'm sitting this week is going to be James Conner versus the Rams. Rams are the 7th best against the run, holding running backs to 20.3 points collectively, also keeping them under 88 rushing yards and only 3 touchdowns allowed this whole season. Conner's also coming back from his second game, healing up from his rib injury. So I don't expect a full workload still. I think Benjamin will be added into the mix like he has been. Eno's definitely deserves some snap shares and some touches. But again, James Conner, this is a tough matchup for him. I'm not playing him. Another running back I feel not as confident and maybe sitting this week is going to be Miles Sanders versus the Commanders. Commanders played against Sanders earlier this season, holding him to only 4 fantasy points, 40 rushing yards and 1 reception. That's it. But do I expect Sanders to perform a little bit better? Absolutely. I don't think Miles Sanders is going to do another 4-point game. But the Commanders do actually do a really good job against running backs. They held Dalvin Cook to 13 points, David Montgomery to 9 points, all while holding running backs to only 85 rushing yards. This is a game that I think they'll use collectively. Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, obviously Jalen Hurts. I think this is going to be a game where I think the Commanders do a pretty good job at stopping Miles Sanders again. Now, as far as my sleepers go, I have DeAndre Swift versus the Bears. Swift, if he does improve in health and he does be able to get that limited tag off of him, this is a great matchup for him. Bears allow 26.6 points to running backs and 112 rushing yards. They're also allowing an average of a touchdown per game to the running back. And now, again, if Swift is in the limited aspect like he was this past weekend, bench Swift, plug in Jamal Williams. You should have handcuffed him early in the season. Or maybe you're somebody who has Jamal Williams. You're kind of waiting to see what happens. If Swift does not play or if he's got that limited tag again, Jamal Williams has a really good matchup against Chicago Bears. Another running back I have as a good sleeper is Tony Pollard versus the Packers. Packers do a really good job against the run, but they do allow passing. 7 targets to running backs in the passing game, plus 100 rushing yards on the ground. Pollard should be able to work off what he did while Zeke was out due to injury. Pollard should see anywhere from 12 to 15 touches. Zeke will most likely grab those red zone touches, which is kind of disappointing, especially for all you Pollard owners who have dealt with it and seen it constantly. You're like, why pull Zeke out of there? But I do like this game as a good one for him. I think he's going to get 4 to 5 receptions, probably 50 to 60 yards, 20 to 30 on the ground, get you in that double-digit performance. Again, maybe a touchdown will help increase that, of course. So that's my start, sit, and sleepers for the Week 10 edition for the running backs. Again, make sure you guys obviously are paying attention to those games Thursday and Sunday early morning. If you guys do have questions of who you should be starting, always hit us in the comments down below. That's what we're here for. We want to get you guys the best lineup you possibly can play this week. If you guys are new to the channel and you did enjoy the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure you hit that like button. It's greatly appreciated. If you have not already, check out our start and sit quarterback or the waiver video if you guys are still looking to pick up some players that have not been picked up already. So make sure you check out those two. Stay tuned. We'll be dropping our start and sit for wide receiver and tight end. That way you guys are prepared. Again, Thursday night game, Sunday early morning, and of course your Monday night game as usual. So again, check out those videos, and I'll check you out next time.